Alright, so yesterday we reviewed, I wouldn't say reviewed, we brought back the positive negative game, the combination game, and you had one where you had to fill it in. And today we are going to take that a step further, where instead of selecting the sign, you're actually going to type the sign or write the sign and the number. And so I want to make sure you see this before we go. But again, remember, the game is the bigger number wins, and if they are the same, they work together. If they are not the same, they compete. So in this situation, we look at the 8, we see it's negative, so you will type a negative or put a negative in the box, and then these two are different, so they compete. 8 and 2 would be 8 winning, or the negatives winning by 6. Another way to think about it is, if the team you're going for scores 2, because negative would be bad, and the team you're not going for scores 8, then the team we're not going for won by 6. However you think about it, just try to figure out a way to make sense of this, because again, it's not that bad of a situation. You just got to make sure you accept it for what it is. In this case, again, the bigger number here is 5, which is positive, and you will have to put a plus. Please make sure you hear me when I say that. And now that they're not on the same, that means they compete, and 5 is 4 bigger than 1, so therefore it's going to be a positive 4. I don't care, so we'll go ahead and go through them. Here, again, the bigger number is the 7. 7 is negative, so it means the negatives will be my result. These are not on the same, they're different, so therefore they compete. 7 is 5 bigger than 2, and so it'll be negative 5. In the next one, 4 is bigger, it's positive. Don't forget, you're going to have to put the plus. 4 and 3 are the same, so they work together. 4 and 3 together make 7. Not going to do 5. I will do 6. 6 is the bigger number. It's negative. Again, I'm not even looking at both. I'm looking for the bigger number. Show me the sign. These two are the same, which means they work together, giving me negative 10. I'm going to stop right there, because again, that's the general idea of what you need. And again, if you get stuck on that, it seems like it's really small, but it's a very important skill for you to have. Please make sure you communicate about that, so we can try to help you get on your feet with that. Because again, and as I said earlier, I think yesterday, was that this is helping you to get ready for the classes in front of you. There are positives and negatives all over the place, and the math is coming up. And in my years of teaching, the hardest part that people have to deal with is dealing with the negatives and the positives. Once you learn to deal with that stuff, it's not so bad. Doesn't mean you'll get through everything, but at least you kind of accept it a little bit more, and it works a little bit better. 9.2 though is just going to take our experience with distributive property a step further. As usual, we're going to keep going further and further every time we see it. So far we've seen problems where the outside value meets two values inside of parentheses, but sometimes there are more than two values inside the parentheses. So this is where we are going. Don't copy this, just kind of follow for right now, but don't copy it, because there's examples for you to see. But what we're looking at here is these 3 people are now friends, and this 7 wants to meet them. So in terms of showing meetings, 7 would meet 5t, and again plus. 7 meets, respect the sign, negative 8u, and again with a plus, 7 meets negative 9v. Now we just have 3 things to multiply. That'll be 7 times 5, which is 35 with a t attached. Don't forget, just attach the variable. 7 times negative 8, that's 1 negative, which makes it minus 56 with a u attached. 7 times negative 9 is 1 negative, which makes negative 63v. And that is all you have to do for now. Again, every time we see this stuff, we are going to learn more and more about it, but the beauty of it is we're cycling through it, and we're taking concepts that you should have a good idea about, and we're adding something to it to kind of get you better at it. Just again, make sure you do not fall behind, because once that happens, it's hard to catch up. We are moving at a slower pace, but once you get far enough behind, it's really hard to catch up. Alright, so the work is still the same. We still want to list all the meetings. Again, we still want to try to list that, although you don't have to do that on paper. But the main thing is, again, at least consider to show them, for those of you who don't need to show them anymore. But the following problems that we're going to do now should be copied to your notes, so you can have something to kind of guide your decisions. So here we go. These are the ones you want to copy, because these are the questions you're going to see. First off, again, it's going to pretty much say equals in a box, so what I'm showing here is for the sake of your notes, but you do want to make sure you understand you don't have to show the meetings on these, but you might want to do it in your work because it helps keep me in line. 8 meets 3m. And 8 meets, that would be negative 7n. And again, mean plus. 8 meets negative 9p. Now all I have to do is multiply. Again, my box would be right here, and so my answer in the end would go here. That would be 24m. That's going to be negative because there's one negative, so negative 56n. This is going to be negative because there's one negative, making negative 72p. Again, all those skills kind of get reviewed and repeated and reused all over and over again. That's really just a game of math that you're getting into. B, I'll leave that up so you can copy it if you need to. Again, first thing going to happen is negative 5 meets 5d. And again, always use a plus. Negative 5 meets negative 8e. And, which means another plus. Negative 5 meets 4f. Now the beauty of this process is that those of you who got it right showing this in your work last quarter did just fine. And then this quarter you're going to say, well, I don't feel like showing the work, and you're going to miss a lot of questions because you really aren't ready to let it go yet. When you can visualize doing this, that's when you know you're ready to not have to show that step. But again, it's very important that you do that step because it keeps you disciplined and in line. This is going to be negative because there's one negative, but negative 25d. This is going to be positive because it's two negatives, so plus 40e. This is going to be negative because there's one negative, so minus 20f is what you would put. So again, keep whatever discipline gets you to where you need to be. There are some people, like I said, who can go straight from here to here. Visually, that's great. But if you are not that person, do not feel ashamed. As a math teacher of 19 years, that's probably longer than most of you have been alive. Actually, it should be, especially if you're in high school. But as a math teacher for longer than you've been alive, I have never cared whether my student takes a proper step and takes a little longer to get the right answer versus a student who rushes just to get it wrong. Because a student who rushes to get it wrong is really being just foolish. There's no need to rush. It's not like we're giving you quizzes that have 50 questions on them. It just takes a little extra time, and as long as you take your time, you can still get a better grade than anybody in the room. C. Again, the thing you're going to be adding to this is a decimal, so don't let it frustrate you. Just kind of do what you do. So negative 3.3 meets 6r, and negative 3.3 meets 4s. Again, 3.3 meets 6r, 3.3 meets 4s, and again, just take your time. That's a plus. Negative 3.3 meets negative 9t. Once that happens, I don't know those numbers, but so we're just going to go ahead and use a calculator. 3.3 times 6 is negative 19.8. Again, don't forget to attach the letter. 33 times 4, I believe, is 12 plus 120, 132. So what, 13.2? I don't know. Negative 3.3 times 4 is negative 13.2. So negative 13.2s. Notice I say negative, but because it's a connector, it says minus. You read it as minus. And then I know this should be positive. 33 times 9 should be 27 plus 270 plus 20, 292. I don't know. No, 297. Negative 3.3. Sorry, I can't help it. 29.7. Again, negative. No, positive. I'm silly. I just told you it was going to be positive. Two negatives makes it positive. 29.7 t would be our stopping point there. But again, the key idea, even if you don't think you need it, those things help you to not make mistakes up there. So if you find yourself making mistakes up here, get a piece of scratch paper. It does not hurt to show this stuff for you to type into your calculator and get the actual answer. So again, as it says here, take your time on this section, but remember that it's just a small extension beyond what you've learned already. So you should have the idea. It should not confuse you much because all we're doing is adding one more thing to multiply. But again, speak up if you have any issues. but make sure you make your own attempt. Do not just say, I don't get it. Do not just say, this is stupid. Do not just say, you didn't teach it to me. Make sure you make an attempt. And then what we can do is say, well, that was close. You got this part right, but we need to do this part better. And what will happen is you will get better at math overall. So other than that, again, we'll talk to you later, and good luck.